Before we go on to pressing this seam, I'm just going to cut away the top section of the French seam here, just to get rid of some of the bulk, because next we're going to fold this over and it just makes it a little bit easier to stitch. So if you go cut a little 45-degree triangle across here, not going beyond the stitch line, it's just that small section there, but when we press this over next here, it means it's a little bit less bulky under there. So now we're going to press the hem on the long edges of the apron, starting at the top of the bib and going round and under the arm to the back of the strap. So we're going to measure 1/4 inch, which you can use a seam gauge for, because you can set the slider on this to the right distance, and then you can see easily if the distance is right. If not, you can use a tape measure. And going to start to press that down, just checking the measurement as I go around. Once you've been all the way around and to the top, we're then going to do a second fold, so the same distance coming over again like this. As you go the second time, you can then secure it with pins. So if you're pinning, then you'll pop the pin in here, the head of the pin closest to your body, so you'll be able to pull it out as you come to it. Or this is what we also like to use the sprung wonder clips for, particularly if you've got a heavier fabric, because you can simply clip those onto the edge and they'll keep it in place. Once you've pressed all the way around with the second fold, the next step is to machine. And when we machine stitch this down, you want to be sewing close to the unsecured edge here, so not the folded edge, but stitching here on the unsecured edge to keep that flat. Now we're going to sew up these long side edges here. So the stitch length that we recommend for this is 3.5 on the dial. It's a nice long stitch because you're going to see it on the outside of the apron as well, so you don't want it too small, otherwise there's a chance that the apron will pucker a little bit and not lay very flat. So you want the needle close to the unsecured edge of the apron. You can do a little reverse stitch at the start, and then if you've secured it with clips or pins, then you simply go slowly and remove them as you come to them. And in a moment I'll show you that the hardest part of this is just actually sewing around the curve and getting past the bulk of the French seam on the inside. As you approach the bend round the underarm, it's just a case of going a little bit slower if possible on the machine, keeping the edge really nice and flat with your fingers, and just trying to go slowly, particularly over the bulk of the French seam. If you want to go really slowly, just to get over the trickiest part, rather than using the foot pedal, you can just manually move the needle forward by turning the wheel on the side of your machine for a couple of stitches. So So I'm now just sewing manually, just moving the machine needle forward with the machine wheel. And then I know that I'm in control of the speed. Then once you're over the French seam, you can just continue and sew up to the top of the bib here. I have now sewn round from the top of the bib under the arms and up to the top of the strap. That's step 3 in the instructions, and the next step is to now finish off the 2 outside edges here in exactly the same way. So back to the ironing board, I'm afraid, press them over 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch again, and then machine stitch them with the same stitch length so that all the edges of the apron down the sides and round under the arms and across the back to the straps are all finished off, and then we're ready to move on to the pockets.